What's up, Karizzma crew? This is your captain speaking. I hope you guys had a wonderful Lunar New Year. Today, we're gonna be ranking the best ending missions in all the mainline Halo FPS games. A lot of you enjoyed my ranking of the opening missions, so if you like what you see, be sure to drop a sub as it always helps me out. It was really tough ranking the opening missions, and I know ranking the ending missions are gonna be even more difficult. With that being said though, let's jump right in. Coming in at 8th place, it's Guardians from Halo 5 Guardians. Now, to be fair, Guardians is nowhere near as terrible as Halo 5's opening mission, Osiris. There are a few redeemable qualities about the mission. The environmental storytelling is actually quite decent. Seeing different enemies up close behind the force fields and how they react really give them personality. It also reminded me of Halo 2 with the elites and hunters being captured by the brutes. Cortana declares she's cured rampancy for AIs, and basically every AI across the galaxy accepts her offer to join her for a chance at immortality. You really get a sense of the scale and the repercussions of Cortana's actions. Her calling out all the species like the prophets, elites, brutes, and offering quote-unquote peace was great. She even says word for word what the Didact said in Halo 4's epilogue.
Our strength shall serve as a luminous sun, toward which all intelligence may blossom, and the impervious shelter beneath which you will prosper.
I also liked Exuberant Witness and her personality throughout the mission. It feels very distinct, and unlike the extremely manipulative 343 Guilty Spark which we already know and love, or despise. Even the ending of the mission, where you're trying to push against the Guardian's pulse, is really well done. Where it falls flat, however, is the gameplay and the enemy engagements. It's a whole bunch of go here, destroy this core, go there, destroy another core, all while you're overwhelmed by a huge number of enemies. The ending cutscenes are decent enough, with Osiris successfully rescuing Blue Team, Cortana finding Infinity, and Chief reuniting with Halsey and Arbiter, but I can't help feeling like there could have been so much more. At number 7, we have the Silent Auditorium from Halo Infinite. I actually enjoyed Halo Infinite's campaign, but sadly, I think the Silent Auditorium was a poor way to finish off the game. Had the game ended after the previous mission, House of Reckoning, I think the game would have had somewhat of a better closure. It would give more time to explain the Endless and flesh out who the Harbinger really is in the next game, or a potential DLC. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. As you progress towards the level, the game slowly fills in the final gaps of what happened to Cortana in between tense combat scenarios. I loved seeing the banished hunters and the tools at disposal in the room that we face them in. It makes for a really engaging enemy encounter. There are also nice callbacks to previous games with quotes like,
"This place will become your home. This place will become..."
The visual design of the level is spectacular, especially the actual Silent Auditorium itself. The final fight with the Harbinger isn't the best boss battle in the game, but it's fairly decent, and adding the banished enemies as well as the skimmers into the mix makes it enjoyable to play. Honestly though, the Brute Chieftain felt way more intimidating than the Harbinger herself. That dude could crush you instantly. The ending cutscene left us with more questions than answers, and although it makes me excited to see where the franchise goes in the future, as a standalone ending, I think it falls just a bit short. Number 6. The Great Journey from Halo 2. Man, it makes me sad putting Halo 2 so low, especially considering how well it did in the opening mission video. But the fact is that as a standalone title, its ending mission is one of the weaker ones in the series, and even in its own game. It's in many ways similar to the Silent Auditorium with its cliffhanger. In fact, they both play a similar track at the end of their respective ending cutscenes. The reason I chose to put Halo 2 higher is because of its better enemy engagements. While the Silent Auditorium was fun, the engagement and the Great Journey are a bit more varied. You start off in a Spectre before moving indoors and teaming with hunters for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. You fight your way until you reach a prison area with friendly AI trapped inside cells powered by force fields, something we know that would be called back to later in Halo 5. You eventually make your way outdoors and get onto a Banshee while supporting Johnson inside a Scarab. You make your way towards where Tartar Sauce is activating the ring, and then engage in a boss battle. The storytelling, just like the rest of Halo 2, is great. Arbiter tries to reason with Tartar Sauce, but he's too far gone and brainwashed to even listen. The boss battle itself is not good, to put it lightly, and fully relies on the player or Johnson hitting Tartar Sauce with a beam rifle shot before taking any damage. damage. Once you defeat him, you're treated with a sequence of cutscenes, leaving players thinking, wait, what? That's it? We obviously now know of Halo 2's horrifying development, and I think now with easy access to Halo 3, it doesn't seem like such a big deal, but considering Halo 2 as a standalone game, the ending could have been much better. And as a side note, as much as we love the Arbiter now, ending the game with him at the time was probably not the best move. Number 5. Pillar of Autumn from Halo Reach. I know. Technically, Lone Wolf is the last mission in Halo Reach, but it wouldn't be fair to Halo Reach to judge it on Lone Wolf alone, as it's more or less a canonized firefight. Pillar of Autumn starts off very strong. I really enjoyed its opening sequences, being dropped off by a wounded Carter, fighting your way through enemies and then cruising in a mongoose with large set pieces like the Scarab trying to stop you. It's really exhilarating. Entering the caves and seeing Carter sacrifice himself so Noble 6 and Emil can carry forward is to this day such a great moment. You continue fighting your way through the cave with buggers trying to stop you and keep pushing towards the Pillar of Autumn. And unfortunately, this is where the mission starts to drag on a bit for me. The enemy encounters aren't bad per se, but it feels like it could have been cut so much shorter. Once Captain Keyes arrives in the Pelican, we're treated to another heart-wrenching cutscene with Emil dying and Noble 6 staying behind to protect the Pillar of Autumn. It becomes clear for anyone who had any doubt left that the end for the player was near, at which point we should have proceeded to the final objective, but instead we head back inside for even more enemy encounters until finally getting into the Mac cannon and destroying the Phantoms and Banshees so that the Pillar of Autumn can successfully escape. We're then treated to a cutscene of the Pillar of Autumn heading towards Halo, coming full circle to Combat Evolved. Absolutely beautiful. Number 4. Coastal Highway from Halo 3 ODST. I love the ending firefight to Coastal Highway so much that I would rank it even higher on the list. However, its first half of the mission is why I ultimately decided to place Coastal Highway here. Starting off with some really cringy cutscenes and questionable dialogue, you head off to protect Dare and Virgil alongside Buck. It starts off pretty fun, escalating from on-foot combat to being in vehicles, but honestly, its runtime seems to go on a bit too long. Thankfully though, there's some beautiful set pieces and the skybox is gorgeous. It makes the world feel really big in comparison. It's done really well. I just wish they could have shaved off a few minutes just so it didn't feel like it went on for too long. Thankfully though, afterwards you enter the final firefight section, and I love the dynamic of fighting waves of enemies while going back to regain health and switch weapons, as well as receiving extra shields when being near Virgil. You can be super aggressive or sit back and take on enemies slowly. It makes this section so fun and replayable. Number 3. Midnight from Halo 4. I know a lot of people dislike Halo 4, and it sure has its own glaring issues, but before you comment on how wrong I am, hear me out. The pure shock factor and storytelling really propels this level high up for me. Also, the mission contains 2 of Halo 4's best soundtracks, 117 and Arrival. In terms of gameplay, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I feel like it both starts and ends strongly, but falls a bit flat in the middle. The mission starts off with a quote-unquote War Dog run of its own. Okay, maybe I'm hyping it up a bit too much, but it's a pretty fun broadsword flying sequence with multiple routes to keep the gameplay feeling fresh while you try to make your way to the Didact. You take down some generators so that Lasky can punch a hole and you can get into the ship. By the way, the visual in this level are absolutely stunning. Once you step inside the ship, you fight your way through Prometheans for some fun encounters and go through multiple portals. So far, it's all good until you reach a holdout section. You plug Cortana's USB into the console and fight off waves of Robo-Doggos until Cortana finishes downloading the latest Taylor Swift album. This goes on for far too long though, and I feel like this part could have easily been cut out completely. The section that follows once again shows off the beautiful visuals as desperation kicks in. Cortana's losing control and time is short. Cortana then shockingly ejects her rampant personality spikes into the system in order to overwhelm the composer's shielding. You make your way around to multiple consoles, all with various layouts, and everything seems completely normal until you plug her into the last console. The shielding of the composer goes down as planned, and then without any warning, the console explodes like an old PC trying to run Halo Infinite. Master Chief, for the first time with concern and shock in his voice, shouts out for Cortana, but continues to focus on the mission at hand and makes his way towards the Didact, all while hearing whispers of Cortana. Eventually, you reach the Didact and a cutscene plays with the final face-off. Players have their eyes glued to the screen, wondering how the final conflict will end, and it ends with well, ends with a quick time event. You see the missed potential, so much emotional build-up and shock, only to end so flatly. Luckily, the final few cutscenes are crafted perfectly and really tug on those heartstrings with Cortana as well as Lasky. Number 2, the Maw from Halo Combat Evolved. You had to know the Maw would rank up high with how the level ends. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of CE's reused assets and repetitive designs such as 2 betrayals, but the flood-infested Pillar of Autumn in the Maw feels different enough to not bother me as much. Also, by the time you reach the Maw, the entire game has passed, so it doesn't feel as repetitive. You fight your way through the destroyed Pillar of Autumn for some pretty standard enemy encounters. They aren't bad, but nothing really memorable either, until you reach the generator room where you need to take down 4 generators. And let's be honest here guys, I'm super nostalgic for this game too, but this section really hasn't aged well. The hit detection is really spotty, and sometimes a perfectly placed grenade into the vent still doesn't do the trick, and I can totally see new players being confused and frustrated with it. Luckily, once you're done destroying all 4 generators, you get to begin the best part of the mission, the iconic Warthog run, weaving through multiple obstacles in a speeding Warthog as the timer counts down and waves of flood run at you and try to stop you until you finally reach a ship to make your escape. Honestly, a heart-pumping feeling that simply cannot be replicated. Or can it? And that obviously leaves Halo from Halo 3 as number 1. Probably no surprise here for a lot of you. It's just a marvelously crafted level that takes you on emotional highs and lows, crash landing onto the ring alongside the Arbiter and marching your way through the snow with the angelic voices of the soundtrack in the background. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. You make your way through the control room as a furious gravemind throws waves and waves of flood towards you. Once the section is clear, you make your way into the control room, and in shocking fashion, that sleazeball Guilty Spark deep fries Johnson as he realizes what we truly intend to do by destroying the ring. You follow up with a terrible boss fight against Guilty Spark, destroy the ring, and begin to make your escape. You make your way to a Warthog, and my god, play one of the most memorable sequences you will ever play in gaming history. The scale, the music, the atmosphere, the giant set pieces, it's all perfect. It does the Warthog run better than the original. The lack of the timer and tight corridors also makes it friendlier for newer players, and honestly makes it timeless and that much better. Upon finally punching it, as Cortana says, you make it into the Forward Unto Dawn with the Arbiter, and a sequence of phenomenal cutscenes play with various callbacks, from Master Chief saying
"It's finished"
instead of
"No, I think we're just getting started,"
to Arbiter saying
"Were it so easy,"
just as he said in the beginning of the game. It's all executed really well and makes it a clear winner for me as the best ending mission in all of Halo. So what did you guys think of my ranking? And how would you rank them differently? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, Superman punch that like button and subscribe for more Halo content. I'll see you guys in the next one.
subscribe to Kaptain Karizzma.